Hey, it's Karina Reichman, and you are listening to Comes a Time with Oteil Burbridge and Mike Fenoya. If you're digging the podcast, do these guys a favor and review and subscribe. It means a lot. Be sure to follow the pod on social media, YouTube, and if you're joining for bonus episodes and exclusive content, go to patreon.com/comesatimepod and get on the bus. And now, here's Mike and Oteil.
What's up, folks? Welcome back to Comes a Time. That's Oteil.
And that's Mike. And you're back for part 2 with Rosie McGee. We just couldn't fit it all into one episode. Too much history.
That's it. So if you haven't watched part 1, go back to our YouTube channel and watch this episode. Watch last week's episode because it's all visual and it'll blow your mind. Shout out again to Eric, our engineer, for putting together this amazing slideshow with Rosie. They worked on it all week. Thank you again, Rosie, for sharing. And you can go to rosiemcgee.com to support all of her great work. And if you want more from us, you can go to patreon.com/comesatimepod for a bonus episode each week. Thank you all so much, and we will see you soon. Enjoy.
Peace.
Next one, Tom Constanten, TC. This is 69 or 70, taken on Mickey's Ranch.
Wow.
And Tom was went to college with Phil. He was a college buddy of Phil's. And so when Phil and I were living together, and especially once well, first let me back up. Phil and I lived together for just over 4 years. The first 2.5 of those years, we lived with other people, with members of the band or the whole band. And so it wasn't until the very last period of time that we had our own place in Fairfax, and we were able to invite people over for dinner and stuff like that, and just have us and our guests. And TC was a guest more than once. And after dinner conversation, he is really smart guy. And he's also very, what's the word? I guess arcane is the word.
Yes.
You know, he and Phil are both like super smart and super into some of the most obscure things that you can be into. But they're both into the same thing, you know. For example, I remember a conversation after dinner one night about the ley lines across England. There's these indentations in the earth that can be seen like from an airplane or whatever, that are very regular, that are like hundreds, if not thousands of years old. And they make these patterns. And there's this whole area of study of these ley lines. It's LEY, ley lines, of, you know, was it extraterrestrials? Was it, you know,
It was
whatever.
the elves.
It was the elves.
They live on those ley lines. I'm telling you.
Is he an elf? You know.
Look at him. Oh, I got one of him recently where I did a show with him in Portland. I'll have Eric put it up. It was on my Instagram. I'll send it to you, Rosie, where I said elf or not an elf. It's so... You can see it here, Mr. Ley Lines.
Yeah, and taking this photo, we were both... There's a series of portraits. They're in my coffee table book of all of them. And I don't even remember the reason for it, but we were all on Mickey's Ranch together one day. I think it was the time where they posed for photos on horseback. The whole band was there, and they were dressed to be photographed. And during that day, for some reason, I was asked to take individual portraits of each of them. And I had never done anything like that. You know, I was always kind of in the background being sneaky, you know. And And so I had to take each guy aside. I took him around the corner into the woods part of the property, and then do a portrait. And no one was more awkward at it than TC. I mean, I'm uncomfortable with it,
Yeah.
but I was also, I was matching his awkwardness because I didn't know exactly how to do it. How do you pose somebody? What do you say? What do you do? You can't just say stand there and take a picture and expect it to
Yeah.
come out like any kind of interesting, So I was really pleased that this came out at all.
It's a classic. Eric, did you get the shot of TC that I put in the chat? It's the elfiest shot I've ever taken with anyone. I caught him. I caught him at the right angle.
Okay, so next.
There you are.
Okay, Oteil, you requested this. You're going to have to tell me why.
Look at you. Oh my God.
look
Talk
at me,
about
yeah.
a little elf in her native habitat. I didn't want it to all be about the Grateful Dead. Because one of the things about the Grateful Dead is it's so much about the fans. It's about the whole community. I learned so much from any random fan that comes up to me, say where I live in Boca Raton, and they'll tell me something that's amazing. And for you to have been there, you were there, and for some reason had this photography bug from such a young age that you caught all the stuff. It's just amazing from the inside perspective. And look at you. I mean, oh my God, how old were you in this shot? Oh my God, it's too
Let's
too
see.
cool.
Let's see. 16. I have to do it on my fingers.
It's amazing. And people, you don't look like.
Yeah, go ahead.
You don't look drugged out and like freak, or you know what I mean? That's like you look really super happy.
I was super happy. This was taken in the yard. Probably Phil took it. It was in the yard of our house in Fairfax. And and that vest. Oh my God, I just remembered that. That vest, I made it myself from a lace curtain. Yeah.
Wow.
It's a lace curtain. It's just like.
Oh, a lace curtain. I see. Because I was like, wow, look at all the frills that you took.
Yeah, no, it's a lace curtain. And then I just I wasn't, a good seamstress or anything. I just kind of tied it together and put it on.
Looks beautiful. It's great. I just love seeing you. I want people to see the person that was actually taking those pictures then,
Thank you. I appreciate
great
that.
shot.
That's neat.
Yeah.
Okay,
so we're jumping up to 1971, and this is under the Eiffel Tower. And if you look past the guys, you'll see the roof of a Citroen. I just noticed that.
Yeah.
Anyway, I included this photo for two reasons. One is I will take any excuse to celebrate Robert Hunter.
Yeah.
I can't say enough about my admiration for him and his, the path of the Grateful Dead would have been completely different without him and his songs. And, I don't have the words. I just admire and respect him so much. The other reason that I wanted to show this photo is that technically, it's not a good photo. It's very, it's got a lot of grain. It's not very sharp. It's this, that, and the other. And in fact, I had to do a lot of work on it to pull their faces out so you could see them because it was really dark.
Yeah.
But here's the thing is when I was putting together my book and I was going through all of the photos, I had several criteria for what was going to make the first cut. And one of them was, I was thinking, if this photo is not in my book, no one will ever see it. Doesn't matter. And that, I mean, every single photo went through that screen.
Yeah.
And doesn't matter because they'd disappear. The ones that aren't in the book are probably, they're going to be in some archive basement or something. Who knows?
Yeah.
So this photo, it passed the test. That's all.
Look at the moment.
I would never look at that and think it was a bad picture at all. But I guess
Well,
it's just because I appreciate
it's technically not.
Sure, but I mean, also I enjoy the reflection of their faces off the roof of the car. Like, I think there's a lot of beauty in this that doesn't necessarily have to be like, perfect,
That's true.
I like it quite a bit, actually.
Thank
It
you.
shows a real moment between the two of them that,
That's what I like about it. And that's what made me say, no, this has to be in the book.
I also kind of like to see pictures of Hunter and other members of the band and not just Jerry.
Yeah.
Because you knew there was that, you knew there was the Weir Barlow connection, you knew there was the Phil TC connection. Like, it's cool to see the whole family,
Right.
Especially with that look, the look of joy on Hunter's face.
Yeah.
It's genuine,
Yeah. That's a, what do you call that? I forget, I don't know the word, photographically or whatever, but it's like just a snapshot of a moment, portrait. It's really great.
Yeah.
I like it a lot. One of my favorites thus far, and they're all amazing.
What do they call it? The defining moment or something like that.
This picture I love so much. I had this on my wall. In high school, college. I love
Really?
Pig. Yeah, I love Pig with all my heart. Yeah.
This,
I went through a period of ripping through. I would buy 2 copies of books of Grateful Dead, visual, the iconography, the photography. One book was to rip pictures out and hang on my wall, and the other one was to keep the book intact. So other people had Michael Jordan and Kevin McHale, and I had Pig smoking a cigarette on a wine cart. So everyone has their heroes, right?
Well, so this photo was taken at the Chateau d'Hérouville in 1971. And again, briefly, the story is that the band was booked to play a outdoor music festival outside of Paris. And, all expenses paid. It was a one-off gig. They were just going to fly there, be there for about a week, 5 days or 6 days, and then come back and get paid for the festival and all that. And they were going to be put up at the Chateau d'Hérouville, which Elton John later made famous as Honky Chateau. It had a recording studio, and it's got its own history, which is fascinating. It's got a great story. But anyway, so we went, well, first of all, John McIntyre, the manager, and I flew ahead to scope out the site and make sure everything was all right. We were ahead by a couple of days. And then the festival was going to happen the next day. And during the night, this deluge of rain washed out the festival completely. I mean, it was like a mud pit, and it was still raining and all of that. But the band and all their gear were already on a transatlantic flight to France.
Yeah.
And so, we met them at the airport, brought them to the chateau, and then later, in order to recoup some of their lost revenue, the promoter and the man who owned the chateau where we were lodged came up with a plan to have a party on the lawn of the chateau, have the the Dead play a gig, and it was recorded by a team of friends of theirs from a Paris TV station that had a weekly show.
Wow.
And so the TV station paid the promoter and the chateau guy for the rights to do this. And we had this incredible party and everything like that. So this is the day, I think it's the morning of the gig or the party. And the whole time we were there, this is 1971 in June, and Pigpen wasn't feeling well. He was already not feeling well, but then getting on a transatlantic flight, I don't know how many hours it took. I mean, it really took it out of him. And so while we were doing all fun stuff, like we would, we went into Paris to go to the Eiffel Tower and do other fun stuff, he just hung by himself. And the only time that he pulled himself together was to perform. And that show is available on YouTube. You can go see it.
It's amazing.
It's amazing. Yeah, it was.
The footage is incredible.
The only light was the spotlights from the TV crew. I mean, it was out in the garden. You know, there's no lighting there.
Yeah, it's
So
funny you
anyway,
mentioned. Yeah.
back to this photo. So this photo is an example as a photographer, and I'm sure this happens with musicians too, where you have a moment that transcends everything, where you know, maybe you played an incredible solo that you didn't even know where it came from or something. I was walking by, I turned, I saw this, and I had that moment. And I knew that this was going to be, that this had to be photographed. This moment had to be photographed. There was, you know, you can interpret it a bunch of different ways. For me, it's about isolation, illness, you know,
Exhaustion.
and just not there in your body, you know.
Yeah.
But less than 2 years later, Pigpen was gone.
Yeah.
And
I mean,
he was already quite ill.
Well,
Look
Oteil,
at the difference in just 5 years from
that's what I was going to say. That's your
to picture now.
Yeah, your example from years a while back. You know, the good old Grateful Dead cast did a really great job of like Pig wrote letters back to his family, I guess, from Europe, and it's really again just a testament to his sweetness, just about how like how humble, and how like now these people really like us over here kind of thing. And it's like so neat that he's writing letters to his folks back home, you know, like you're a young rock star touring Europe and he thinks to write home. It's just a sweet thing. And they read the letters on the podcast, and I highly recommend people go listen to it because it's just really beautiful.
That's from Europe 72. This
that's
was a year earlier.
Right.
And
I know.
By 72 though, on I don't have any photos of 72, but by then he was frankly quite ill.
Yeah.
And
the pictures are just like there's no color in his skin, and he's just it almost looks like a skeleton.
Yeah.
It's sad.
Next.
Yeah.
I love this picture too.
I love this picture. It just makes me happy. And then the woman on the left, the French woman, looking at him for whatever reason.
Yeah. Jerry under the Eiffel Tower.
Jerry and Bobby under the Eiffel Tower.
That's great.
Yeah. Okay, next.
Keith.
Oh yeah.
That's a zoot suit, right? Is that what that's called?
That's a Nudie suit. Nudies of Hollywood did the rhinestone encrusted, embroidered Western suits.
Is he originally out of Nashville?
No.
Nudie? I
Oh,
ran
Nudie,
into
no. Oh, I don't
he's
know where he was from.
I got one of those jackets in Nashville.
But I mean,
But
his
yeah.
business was in Hollywood.
Yeah.
I feel like
They're
I remember
famous.
seeing a picture of Jerry wearing a suit like this once.
Well, they all had them. There
Yeah.
was, I don't even know who was the instigator, but somebody got them to all go to Nudies and work on, work out designs. They each got to give their input on what they wanted on their suits,
That's
and they all had them. I don't have
Nuts.
the photo here in this show, but in
I
my
th-
book, opposite this photo is a photo of Jerry with his
Yeah.
suit, which
Yeah.
was black with a tombstone on the back, and it's pretty dramatic.
I love it. He goes for the whole Bela Lugosi vibe.
But
It
I'd like to say about this photo, though, as a photographer, again, you got to remember that all of these photos were shot on film.
Yeah.
They're not digital. So I couldn't see if I'd succeeded on any of the photos. I mean, a week later, maybe two,
looks so
I would
great.
get the photos back. And I mean, that, for some people who never knew about film, you're too young or whatever, you can't conceive of not having your phone and you can see exactly, oh, I better take another one because that wasn't right.
Yeah.
You can't do that with film. And so I saw this, and it was one of those moments that I was winging it. I took a picture and I had absolutely no hope
Hmm.
that the picture would come out,
It's great.
and it did.
Yeah, you had to be dealing with some really rotten lighting situations
Well,
often.
yeah, especially stage lighting. I mean,
Yeah.
it's really difficult, even with digital, when
Yeah.
it's really, the contrast is
Mhm.
really severe. Then you have a problem, because the lens picking up the detail in the bright stuff without eliminating what's in the shadows.
Yeah.
And this obviously had some post-production done to it in order to, like I said, pull details out of the shadows and mitigate the brightness of the
Yeah.
face and stuff.
It's a
But that's
great
part of the
job.
gig.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Thank you.
looks awesome.
Oteil, I just looked it up. It's Hollywood Nudies.
Yeah.
Hollywood, yeah. Cool.
Okay, Oteil, you requested this one.
I just love the I love I love Bill Walton so much. And he's just been so sweet to me since I met him. And we had Bill on when his 30 for 30 thing came out, the luckiest guy in the world. And so this picture just stuck out to me because Bill's trademark is that a lot of people may not know that he's had like 39 surgeries. He has spent literally half of his life in the hospital. He spent almost, since high school dealing with extreme pain. Feet, ankles, knees, whatever. When you're that big, it's just painful. And when you're that hard on your body playing, elite level sports. And here he is with that just full on joy, that grin with his crutches.
And
Like,
well, then
just
this photo,
classic.
he's on his way to Egypt in 1978. That's a long flight.
Yeah, man. That's why
David
he's so
Freiberg.
happy.
Yeah, David Freiberg on the left, and that's me on the right. I was for a time I was the band's travel agent,
Ah,
and
Wow.
so I met them at the curb to direct them to which gate, where they needed to go to get the flight to go to Egypt.
yeah.
And I think I handed my camera to somebody else and said, "Hey, take a few pictures of me, please."
Hmm.
I love these. I mean, I love Just that look on Bill's face. It's undefeatable joy. It cannot be defeated in him.
Yeah.
And boy, they try, but it can't be done. You're going to have to kill him. And he'll still be smiling. He'll be laying on his deathbed with a smile.
Yeah, he's something else. Okay, next one.
That's the
Yeah, that's got so much going on for me anyway.
20th anniversary.
Some of it is memories, and some of it is just, as a photo, it's pretty interesting. But this was at the Greek Theater in I think, what was it, 85, I think. And
So
yeah,
interesting.
85, 20 years. And Phil had just he was just tuning his bass and messing with his controls and stuff before the show, just before starting the set. And he turned to the audience, and you could tell, I mean, I knew him really well, and I could tell from his body language when he saw that sign. He just like straightened up and got very still and just stood there for what seemed like a really long time. And then he started to shake his head, and he turned around and met my eyes, and he was shaking his head like, holy crap, 20 years. And we met eyes, and we both just like broke out in a smile, just acknowledgement. And I imagine that we were both thinking, long, strange trip.
Yeah. Dude.
Yeah.
And then, and then he turned towards his amp, and I took the picture.
That's great.
That's a really awesome story.
Yeah.
That's why I wanted you to tell that. This is the kind of stuff I love so much, man.
Yeah.
Wow.
Oh my goodness. Yes, this one.
The aftermath.
Right. That's what it's called, aftermath.
Man.
This photo,
Damn.
I don't know what to say about it, except that it was really difficult to get this shot. But I had, unlike some of the others where I just winged it and got lucky, in this case, there was nobody there. It was dead quiet. This was obviously, they covered up all the amps and everything. It was the first night of a 2 or 3 night run, so they didn't have to break down anything. They just had to cover it. And I was just standing there and just like, oh, I gotta take this picture. And I had black and white film in my camera. And yeah, that was another thing. You can't go back and forth between color and black and white unless you have 2 cameras.
Gotta commit.
So yeah, you gotta commit. But I looked at this, and I must have taken 10 minutes to set up the shot, because as I was saying earlier, there's a bright spotlight, and the light is really bright and everything else is really dark.
Yeah.
And so I'm just very proud of this photo.
I really, really, really love this photo a lot. This is like incredible.
And for people that are not seeing this, this is the Greek after the show.
After the show, from
everybody's
out
gone.
in the audience, and there's litter. I mean, I'm surprised that there's so little.
That's what I was thinking.
Litter.
I was like, this is really not a lot of litter for after a concert. I would have expected way more.
Yeah.
I mean, there's a you can clearly see it, but that's not a lot.
Right behind this camera might be, a garbage can overflowing.
Yeah.
Well, that's
I'm
true.
sure that there was
That's
quite a
true.
bit of, you mentioned earlier about like walking into the Fillmore East and like seeing the room from, the stage and being in a real theater and stuff like that. And I talk about, this quite a bit, but just the privilege of being able to perform in some of the rooms that I've gotten to and just walking into the room before or after and just being in the room quiet when so much energy was just pumped into that room
Yeah.
and you kind of let everybody fizzle out and you're waiting for the deals to be done and the bus to take off and you just kind of go back in the room. This is a really, really like powerful image, this picture. Because, however many minutes before the place was rocking. Like,
There's so much energy.
yeah. And now it's just that,
Yeah. There
damn,
was
this is
no
really,
sound. Yeah.
yeah.
Well, thank you. Thank you. I appreciate the
I like this one.
acknowledgement.
This is really,
Yeah.
really, yeah, that's a special
Cool.
shot.
Okay. So next photo, please.
We're into the 80s.
Yeah, we're into, well,
We were,
yeah,
I know.
we were, yeah, 85.
Kidding.
85. I just like this photo.
Yeah, it's a great photo.
Brent.
I only got to see Brent twice. And there was this was at Ventura in 1985. And I have in my book, I have some smiling photos, where he's at the keyboard and he's got the microphone in front of him and he's looking to the side and he's looking right at me and he breaks into a smile, and I got a couple of those shots. But this one is special to me. There's just again, it's off center and isolated, and there's a great big Steely and red, white, and blue gaffer's tape.
Yeah.
It's like
It's everywhere.
it's everywhere.
Even the faded blue across the across the Steely.
Well,
Yeah.
I
Like,
love the
plywood.
Leslie. It's like a man and his dog. A man and his Leslie with the Steely in the
I
back.
love it. I
like,
love it, Oteil,
it's
because
just like
it's so interesting to me how everybody can, everybody can see the same photo or the same song or whatever, and they got their different interpretations. They notice completely different things. And for my photos, the ones that people like, it might be a photo that somebody will say, "Oh, Rosie, on page so and so, there's this great photo. Oh, it's blah 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 blah." And I go to the page and go, "Oh crap! This photo is only in here because I had a hole to fill." I mean, it was in the B tray. It wasn't
Yes.
like completely in the garbage can, but
yeah.
it didn't make the cut. Like I did first, second, third cut before I did a final cut, and it didn't make any of those, but it ended up,
Yeah.
and somebody's like,
happens.
"Oh my God, that's the best photo in the whole 400 photos in the book." I'm like,
It happens a ton, though. With the Police, Roxanne was a B-side. They were like, "Oh, it's a throwaway." They weren't
yeah.
happy. They recorded it and they weren't happy with it, and they were like, "Just put it on the B-side or whatever." And that was the
monumental hit.
Yeah, that's the one. So one man's trash. You just can't. You got to let the universe decide. Oh, now we're into
This
the
event,
big drum monster machines.
oh, I love this photo. The 1985, they rented the what's it called? The Marin Veterans Memorial Auditorium for 3 days for a video shoot for a video that ended up being called So Far. And it was a video shoot. It was closed set. nobody was allowed in there unless they had a reason to be. And Susanna Millman and I were the only two still photographers allowed into the building. And we were there for 3 days, and it was one of my favorite episodes of shooting The Grateful Dead because it was there was no audience. We had run of the place. I mean, we had certain things we had to observe. We couldn't get in a certain way and do certain things. But other than that, I could take a tripod and set it up in the middle of the third row and take pictures at will and roam around. And as long as we didn't get in the way. And so the other thing about it is that video, you talked about lighting, Oteil, earlier about stage lighting is really chancy and it's really hard. And that's why most of my photos were taken outdoors. I gave up after a while. I didn't have the skill or the experience or the gear to take good, really reliably good gig photos. So I gave up. But in this case, video requires not only a lot of light, but steady light. Yeah. And so unlike stage lighting, which varies as they're doing other effects and everything, and is usually quite a bit lower, except for bright spotlights. For a video shoot, you had gorgeous color, steady light, and the ability to set up a tripod.
That's awesome.
And, so I was able to get a shot like this.
And for people that can't see, like Bill is playing this enormous drum contraption.
Yeah, contraption.
That's like triangular. So it goes up above. Yeah, it's shaped like a Christmas tree. It goes up above his head. And the heads look yellow the way the light is hitting them. So it's this triangle, and with all the spokes, that are holding the drum head on. It's a really cool picture. Really,
you should go to YouTube and watch it, everyone.
Yeah, this is, and Bill has that John Belushi in full madness look on his face. I've seen that look when it's all business, man.
Yeah, he looks like a baseball pitcher.
Yeah. It's serious business right there.
And then this was at the same video shoot. I'm just a sucker for backlighting, whether it's the sunlight or spotlights or anything. I just like the photo, so I threw it in.
Mickey playing that tar, which goes back to ancient Egypt. There's a great elf or not an elf picture for you. If that ain't Mr. Spock, I don't know what is, man.
Absolutely.
That dude.
Absolutely.
He's full goblin.
Okay, next.
Now this one, I thought, for those who can't see, this is how I would meme it. It looks to me as if they're doing a vocal rehearsal. So Phil and Brent and Bobby are all around Brent's keyboard. Phil's clearly singing this note. He looks like his eyes are closed and he's deep in it. And Brent looks like Phil just sang the most wrong note in the history of singing. And he's like, what? Wait, what? I could be wrong, but
no, that's a perfect description. I mean, it was a singing rehearsal.
Yeah.
And
sound check picture.
No, it wasn't a sound check. It was a rehearsal. They were working out the parts for harmonies for a song.
Wow, how about that?
And there's another photo in the book from this session where Jerry's off to the left, just kind of leaning in, with his elbow on the organ.
I gotta see that.
Yeah,
that's great.
That is neat.
But,
look at Brent.
I started laughing out loud when I saw it.
I bet you did.
Yeah, that is funny.
Oh, it's awesome.
Brent's face is priceless.
That's another one ripe for a caption contest.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, I'm sure there's some good memes on that one.
Okay.
Yeah.
Oh, I love this one so
Look at
much.
that. Perfect. Perfect.
Yeah,
Perfect.
that was one of those photos. It was from that video shoot also. And Jerry really liked this photo enough that the cropped head and shoulders version of it was used for JGB for 3 or 4 years for their
Wow,
publicity
really?
photo. Yeah.
Oh, that's
You
awesome.
know, like when a venue needs a photo of the
Sure, a
artist
headshot. Yeah.
yeah, a headshot for whatever.
Yeah. It's
So
awesome.
The joy on his face is just, to
Hey,
me, when I think about the road and how hard it is and all the negative stuff about it, when you get a moment like that of
yeah.
pure joy, that one moment can outweigh the whole last 3 days or
Yeah.
whatever
absolutely.
you
And
went
it
through.
doesn't surprise me that he would love this picture because Jerry doesn't seem to me to be like, there's those baseball cards that have like the guy posing with the bat on his knee and all that.
Yeah, yeah,
Jerry probably liked an action photo, somebody sliding into home or something, not posing. Like this is just him in his natural environment.
right,
Yeah, yeah. He's a little
right.
sweaty.
Yeah.
It's
Imperfect.
just, yeah, totally just
Yeah.
happy. If you're that happy, who gives a shit?
Right.
If you can get that happy, you win.
Yeah.
It's awesome.
It's a
Okay.
great shot.
Thank you.
Fare thee well.
Oh,
Fairly well. Now this
I was
photo
there.
has a
ugh.
story, a double story actually. The original photo I took in UC Santa Barbara, Jerry with alligator.
Mhm.
UC Santa Barbara, 1973. And for the Fare Thee Well shows, the company Deluxe Design did all of they turned the photos of maybe 5 or 6 of us photographers into 4 by 6 foot
Yep.
vinyl banners and hung them all over the public spaces at Fare
Wow.
Thee Well.
Made it very
Nice.
special.
Did you see him?
Nice.
Did you see him
Yeah.
there?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. It was
And they
great.
were
You
like
walk in and
all along the
immediately,
concourse.
yeah.
Yeah.
It was everywhere you went. Soldier Field Chicago was covered with, the dead. But yeah, this was just so awesome. And we took
Well,
pictures.
and
I have pictures of my younger brother and I in front of them and all our friends. Like we posed with the pictures. So we
with the
have
pictures.
pictures with the pictures. So
Yeah.
it's really neat,
And
really
that
special.
happened a lot. What happened with me with this photo is, first of all, for people that don't know, as audience came into the venue, they were each given a long stemmed red rose, and everybody got one as you're going in. And these photos were there. These vinyl banners were on this frame that had a webbing on the outside, and somebody started the trend. Somebody started it, put their rose in next to the photo,
Yeah.
and pretty soon it ended up looking like this. Well,
So that was done by the fans. That
Yeah,
wasn't done by
yeah.
the people that
yeah,
hung
no,
the
it was
pictures.
a
Yeah.
spontaneous
Oh,
thing
that's
by
beautiful.
Yeah.
people
One of my
walking
flowers
by.
is in there.
Yeah,
I
that's a
love
lot
it.
of flowers.
Yeah.
Well,
That
so
is a
what
lot.
happened was I didn't go to any of the Fare Thee Well shows, so I didn't know anything about this. And this photo was taken by Norm Ruth, who's the head of this company that did all the banners, and they did all the banners that were on the streets, hanging from the light poles and all the signs backstage and everything like that. And so he took this photo and sent it to me while it was going on. I mean, it was out of the blue. I was not
Yeah.
there. I didn't know what was going on. I knew that they had gotten the rights from me to make a banner out of my photos.
Yeah.
And then sent me this picture, and I just sat down and cried, just
Oh, I
like,
love it.
what is
Yeah.
this? It's
It's
so
just
powerful. And the you mentioned people posing in front of it. In the subsequent weeks, I got at least a dozen, maybe 20 emails from people who were photographed, who've had themselves photographed in front of this photo or next to it, so
I'll send you mine. Me and my little brother.
I'll just add them to the stack,
Yeah, totally.
So yeah,
it's
it
great
was
because it's
quite
just
neat.
from the very beginning. It's just one long expression of love,
Yeah.
the whole thing. And then
Yeah.
to see here at Fare Thee Well, for you to be brought to tears by this expression of love towards your initial expression of love,
Yeah.
50 years later, it's just like the stuff is so deep, man.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I'll tell you,
so deep. It's so
and
deep.
I'll tell you what, also, Teal, like the world needs this right now too, for sure. Promoters that are listening, it's a nice idea to hand roses out to guests the moment they walk into your concerts, because it's going to kick off a pretty incredible event. Like it's really
Yeah.
nice to walk into a thing that's special and someone's like, here's a rose. And then for what we did with it, I mean, it's
Well,
really a
that's what
beautiful
you get.
gesture.
That's what you get when you have Peter Shapiro
That's what I mean. Yep.
leading the
Thank you
charge.
for
And
mentioning him.
Yep.
Yes,
Yeah,
absolutely.
Absolutely. That's the best.
Well,
We
and
walked
the,
in and we're like, wow, how amazing. Music hasn't even started and this is beyond perfect.
I'm
yeah,
finishing his book right now. We had him on, and I'm
Nice.
still like halfway through, but he's such. Yeah, shout out to Peter Shapiro, man. He's the
Yeah.
man. He is the man.
okay. And now
Oh, I
we're
love this shot so much.
we're
Oh,
at the last photo here, and this
We're
photo,
at the last photo, and it's weird.
we're we're at the last photo. This photo is the last photo in my book, and it is illustrating the afterword. And if you don't mind, I'd like to read the afterword
please.
to caption this
please.
photo
That's
for
so
what
awesome.
what it's about. Late one night in August of 2021, I was working on this book. The photo of Bob Weir getting ready to play in Central Park on May 5th, 1968 was prominent on the large screen directly in front of me at my desk. On the small laptop to my right, the Dead and Company show was live streaming from Saratoga Performing Arts Center, with the audio playing through my desktop speakers. Bobby was singing a most poignant and lovely Days Between, and I was feeling quite moved. I turned my head to the right to look at Bobby, and what I saw utterly stopped me in my tracks. Stunned, I grabbed my phone and I took this photo. Then I turned up the speakers, and with tears in my eyes, I watched and listened to Bobby until the last note of the song had faded away. I pulled the photo from my phone onto my big screen and stared at it for a very long time. Now I share the photo and the story behind it with you. Indeed, my friends, there were days.
Wow. That is unbelievable. That is absolutely beautiful. Look at that.
I don't even know what to say, man. Rosie, thank you so much.
Gets me every time too.
Yeah, what a journey. What a journey. Your book did something for me that only your book could. I don't know how else to say it.
Thank you.
And now I see why it hit me so hard the other day, because I had to get to this point in the story of my story with it, and to be able to look back and be zoomed out enough to have that perspective. And what a great gift. I just am so glad you were there and that you had this photography thing on your heart so early. I think it was truly meant to be, you know?
Absolutely. Absolutely
Uh,
meant to be. And, I also, I spent, well, most of my adult life, I moved around a lot. And I don't know why, I just did. And after I took these photos, I mean, as I said earlier, I was documenting my life from the time I was 12. So I was used to carrying boxes of my photographs on, film and paper around whenever I moved. I was just part of my moving thing is, okay, the photos, got to move the photos. And so that the Grateful Dead photos became part of that bundle of things, And but I knew I did treasure the photos, but as early as 85, I started getting requests for licensing my photos. And so they came out of the boxes and got scanned and so forth. Licensing my photos for books and magazines, films, whatever. And starting in 1986, I think it was. And but other than that, so they came out of the boxes, and I began to understand, wait a minute, these are more than just some of my documents,
Mm.
And so I'm very proud of having kept them safe for all these years and all those moves and all of that. And I always wanted to do a coffee table book or a big photo book, but I had no idea how to do that. It was like beyond, it was like buying a house or something, something I didn't have any experience with and didn't know what to do. And so in 2012, I did self-published a small book, which was called Dancing with the Dead. And it's a 60,000 word memoir. And it's mostly the stories. There are a bunch of photos in it, but it's not an emphasis on the photos. It's an emphasis on the stories. So there's a lot of detail in the first 10 years from my perspective, in Dancing with the Dead, I didn't tell any stories I didn't talk about anything that I didn't personally witness. And then fast forward, eventually brought us to the present day where there's a miraculous thing called Kickstarter, that crowdfunding for creative projects. And I watched my friends Bob Minkin and Susanna Millman to be the recipients of successful Kickstarters and then publishing coffee table books. I went, well, if they can do it, I can do it.
You're like, I got the goods, dude.
I got the goods,
66, bro.
Yeah. And yeah, really. Yeah, you guys are latecomers,
Yeah, if you did it,
I'm way older than any of them. Anyway, so I did launch a Kickstarter that was wildly successful. I more than doubled my goal.
Awesome.
And thank you, all you folks who contributed. There was something like 865 donors and with 1,100 pre-orders for the book.
Wow.
Excellent.
Nice.
And that gave me the not just the confidence, but it gave me the money to do a really good job and hire a really top designer, Don Pacewark, and who was also my production manager, and put the book together. And it's a gift to myself, but it's my gift to history.
Yeah.
It's a historical archive.
It's American history.
An art book.
Yeah.
And I'm really proud of it. I loved the reactions to it.
Yeah.
And I just was, because I was able to do it everything myself. I didn't have to compromise anything
Yes.
about it. Every single thing
Yeah.
about it is because I decided, I want to do this, not that. And as a creator, as a creative person, I mean, I'm sure you can understand that. It's very similar to recording an album, is creating a book like that. And all the decisions and all the disappointments and then the elation and all of that. And you come up with something that is yours. You know, it's you.
Yes.
Like Chef Ramsay says, you on a plate.
Yes. Well, it's beautiful because you see the musical art being made. You see the literary art being made by Hunter and Barlow, you know, and then all the art that the fans create. But now we have this photographic art, this part, you know, it's all part of this history. It's beautiful part of American history and women's history. Your story specifically, it's that pioneer spirit, the DIY spirit, the nobody can tell me what to do spirit. I'm doing it. You know, better to ask forgiveness than
Took
permission.
the words right out of my mouth.
Yeah, you know,
Nobody's
I mean,
gonna tell me what to do.
To me, you're like, you know, one of the great women badasses in American history.
Oh, come on. Well,
for real, look, that I and you're here to tell us about it too. You know, you didn't die early in the process. Thank you for
and
that.
I don't
Thank you
have
for being
addled
along.
brains either. I mean,
Yeah.
for the last 10 years, I've done traveling, you know, photo lectures and presentations, and then I always do a Q&A. And on more than one occasion, I've had somebody make the comment, "My God, you're still so coherent."
You're lucid. Wow.
You're lucid. What happened?
You know, don't we keep seeing that, Oteil, though? Like, we have conversations with Babs. We have conversations with, you know, Parrish. We have conversations with the guys. Like, all that, I don't know, that you guys did some fantastic LSD back in the day because it reinforced that hard drive. You get the memory in the dead community is really phenomenal. You know, Bobby, look, I mean, it's like, you know, who's putting in more hours on stage than Bob Weir right now? Look at how phenomenally like in shape he is and cogent and, you know, just reinventing the music. Yeah.
It's an attitude
It's that
that's
Grateful
about
Dead spirit.
if you love life, then you want to be lucid. You want to feel healthy.
You want to take a bite out of every single moment.
Yeah. And so thank you for that, because
You're welcome.
you know, my heroes were mostly jazz musicians, and so many of them died early. And I was lucky enough to get to see a lot of the ones. They all died right after I saw them, but they were old, you know, whether it was Art Blakey or Dizzy Gillespie or Sonny Stitt or Buddy Rich. They all died right after I saw them, but I got to see them as old men and got to see them reminisce on stage. And when you get to hear living history out of somebody's mouth, even if you're reading their book, it's not the same as when you hear it coming out of their mouth, right? And so I'm so grateful to you to be able to have this time to hear it coming out of your mouth and your voice and your inflection and your spirit, so we can all like actually get that part, because after we're gone, then it's all videos and books and stuff, which is great, but this is super special. So thank you, Rosie.
Thank you so much for having me. I've had a great time, and I love the opportunity to spread the message and spread the photos, the stories to an ever wider audience.
Where can our listeners buy your book?
All of my information is on my website, rosiemcgee.com. It's ROSIEMCGEE.com. And it's a gateway to both of my books. And I also have an online photo gallery where you can just browse and look at my photos. But you can also order prints. And there's 4 galleries. There's Grateful Dead and other musicians. The Grand Canyon, where I spent 7 years.
Ooh.
I spent 7 years living and working at the Grand Canyon, and so
Oh,
I
wow.
got to take a whole bunch of wonderful photos.
You could use the tripod then.
Absolutely.
Get
And
more control.
the third one is Oregon. I live in Oregon, and Washington Scenics is a gorgeous, beautiful place up here.
Yeah.
And then the last one is recently I bought myself a macro lens, so I've been taking close-up pictures of bugs on flowers,
Nice.
things
Neat.
like that.
We'll have to all go check it out. and-
RosieMcGee.com. Hey, thanks, you guys. I've really had a good time, and
Thank
I
you.
hope everybody enjoys the result.
Oh, I'm sure they will.
It's
Bless
really
you,
a pleasure to hear the story behind so many pictures that I literally have had on my wall since I was 15.
That's
So
really something.
truly
you
an
know.
honor. Yeah,
You
and
get
I'll
2
be.
copies of a book and you rip one up,
That's
put them on your wall.
that's how much I
That's
love
just-
this stuff, man. But thank you.
All right, you guys. Thank
Really an
you.
honor. Thank you.
Have a great rest of your day.
You too, Rosie. Bless
Bye-bye.
Bye bye.
you. Bye.